certainly for me, what I'm doing is I'm living out what the 15-year-old me wanted.
Right.
You know, we got hold of the first import copies of Rolling Stone, you know.
Right.
Where's Sausalito? What's Malibu mean, you know? Wow, Jim Morrison's just been arrested in Florida. I wonder if I could go to Florida. Woodstock, what's that, you know?
Yeah.
And so all that kind of stuff. My God, the Jefferson Airplane, they go on tour in planes and they've got beards. Wow, look at that. Jerry Garcia's getting stoned behind a shed.
Right.
You know, so
the thing is, most of us, though, find that interesting and then we move on from it, and actually you never moved on from it.
I'm afraid I didn't.
Yeah.
The 15-year-old me went, okay, stop, that's it, Robyn.
That's the thing I want to do.
Off you go, you're gonna go. Yeah. So, you know, I discovered Nashville because I looked at the sleeve notes of Blonde. Well, there were no notes, but on the sort of 28 words on the back of Blonde on Blonde.
Right, yeah.
One of them said, recorded in Nashville, Tennessee. I thought, oh, Nashville, Tennessee, that must be in America somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, and I got to find out. And then, you know, Dylan made John Wesley Harding, and no one had, by that time, he was a mythical god who knew the meaning of life. And my God, he's been back in Nashville again. Oh, right. Yeah. So this goes into me, I'm 13, 14, 15. Right. And then, what do you know? 50 years later, there I am in Nashville.
Actually,
yeah, but
perfect.
I don't decide to do it. It's simply the kind of crampons that are thrown into my teenage cliff.
Yeah.
And then me just going, you know, one day after another.
But you made a decision at some point to start playing in bands. You played around in other people's bands, and then eventually you start a band that is, I think, first called Dennis and the Experts before it becomes the Soft Boys, right?
Dennis and the Experts, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Dennis. We had a gig, it was billed as Dennis and Experta. Like someone who might give dancing lessons, you know, some old English ballroom dancing couple. Welcome tonight to Dennis and Experta.
And Experta, right?
Yeah, but so that's.
So how did I'd love to hear, because I'm aware of the Soft Boys. I listened to those records when they first came out, but I don't know the story of how this band came to be. And the reason I want to ask you to tell the story of a band that only lasted for 4 years is that the influence of this band on musicians for decades after and still today is really extraordinary. As a juice worth the squeeze kind of calculation, those 4 years have really amounted to significantly more in terms of the music that has become a part of all of our lives.
Wow, have they?
Don't you think?
I don't know.
I think about Scott McCaughey, and I think about Peter Buck, and I think about Chris Stamey, and I think about so many other people who over the years have been collaborators of yours, but who will say that those Soft Boys records were where this all started, where the sound in my head first came from was from those records, 2 records only, over those 4 years.
Well, a lot of those people listened to us. They all worked in record stores. They were in college. They worked in record stores, and then
certain type of person. They were probably 2 years younger than I was, and they were in college, and they handled these imports. Yep. And these records were pressed up in Britain. We never sold anything in Britain, but we did sell some records somewhere. Yep. It's like, where's that draft? Where's the air coming? There's a hole somewhere. Yeah. Where are these records going? Turns out a lot of them went to an import company in Georgia, who then shipped them all over the place. So Peter Buck was living down in Georgia, and he worked in Wuxtry in Athens, so he was selling them. But there was one point I was working with Bill Rieflin, Peter Buck, and Scott McCaughey. Bill was in ministry, and Scott and Bill were also right.
They were also in the later REM, the last 10 years of that.
Right.
And it turned out they'd all sold our records in college. I mean, scores of them, loads of people.
But isn't it great to think that you had the influence that you did?
Yeah,
for a short period of time, 2 records in those 4 years, 76 to 80. Think about how much influence it's had.
Well, and my first solo one, Black Snake Diamond Roll, because a lot of them had that.
81.
So those 3 records really, but yeah, it was guitar. I don't know what it was. I mean, it was simply, it's that thing that you love music, you become a music fan, and it's a bit like magnetism. You know, you can magnetize a spoon and it'll magnetize another spoon and another one. It travels down.
Right.
If you're magnetized by music the way I was at 15 to 25 or whatever, and then I started a band, to magnetize people, you have to be magnetized.
Magnetize yourself, that's right.
Yeah, if you don't convince yourself, you can't convince anybody. So I was so struck by something, and the guys I was in the Soft Boys with, I think certainly Kimberly Rue, the other guitarist,
Right, who eventually went on to be part of Katrina and the Waves, right?
And
yeah.
wrote Going Down to Liverpool and Walking on Sunshine, I think.
Right.
But Kim and I were certainly completely. It was the only language we could speak,